Welcome to a VCE exam revision video. And today we're looking at a question from the VCE 2020 examination. And if you stay till the end, I'll explain more about an upcoming exam revision webinar we have this Sunday, the 23rd of October. So I'll go to the question I want to look at today. And this question is from the 2020 exam. It's question 10 in section B. And this question's great because you can do this if you're in Unit 4, but also if you're in Unit 2 right now preparing for your exams. So it makes it especially valuable. So question shows a car running into the back of a van. And the question is asking, calculate the speed of the car after the collision and the direction it would be traveling in and show you're working out. So let's run through that now. So important to identify the approach. This is a conservation of momentum problem. We can either write that statement or simply write the sum of the momentum before equals the sum of the momentum after. It's important to write that. Might even put a line under it. We can label the objects C for car or V for van. I've noticed I personally made an error on this recently. I was moving so fast through the solution, trying to do it all in 2.5 hours, that the C looked a little bit like the V sometimes. So one thing we can do is label the objects 1 and 2, and it can flow a little bit more. The Snell's law, this also works well with. If I write M1 U1 plus M2 U2, U for initial speed, and then I'll just equate that to the momentum after. That's M1 V1, V for final velocity, plus M2 V2. Notice we're just taking your time a little bit with this, just getting into a flow state with it. The van is stationary before the collision. So we can cross that term out. And what also helps is that we want the velocity of the car afterward. So I might circle it here as well. That'll help us. So next we go to the, you can either insert the numbers or you can perform some algebra on this. So I'm going to subtract that term from both sides. And I'm going to get V1 is equal to M1 U1 minus M2 V2 all over at M1. Make sure it's M1. And then I can plug in numbers. M1 was 1,200 kilograms for the car, times U1, it was moving at 10 meters per second. Notice I'm using brackets there rather than a multiplication symbol to keep it a little bit tidier, times 2,200 times 6.5. Now at this point, it's worth just specifying that to the right is positive. When I'm saying that, if I'm going to make it positive 10 and positive 6.5, and that's all over the mass of the car, which is 1,200. And if you run that through your calculator, if you want, you can cross out the zeros, but I caution against getting a little bit too fancy with the calculators. It can be benefit in cancelling it out, but it can be a bit of a trap too. But that's where the practice comes in, of doing multiple exams. And V1 equals to negative, you'll find, 1.9, and that'll be meters per second, which means the magnitude of the velocity or the speed is 1.9, and the car bounces back to the left. That's what the negative is indicating. All right, so that's how we do it. Gives you an idea of how to lay out the solution. Notice how the equals are all lined up nicely. Does mean a lot to an assessor if they can see a well laid out, clear working, because a lot of the marks simply go for the working. So that's 4 marks out of 4 we would get for that. And in our webinar, I'll be showing you how you can run through the whole exam, or attempt to, in 2.5 hours, and then come back to it and work through at your own pace in solving the questions. So thank you very much for watching the video. And before we do finish, an important thing I'll be showing you in our webinar is the examiner's report. This is just a page from the examiner's report, and that was question 10A. There was a total of 12 marks for question 10. Here's the solution that the assessor was suggesting could have been used, notice the numbers have been added in and evaluated rather than manipulate the symbols first. And there's some general comments made about how students went. And also importantly, just the percentage of students that got full marks. Just see how students go with other questions as well. So it's a very useful document. You might want to study that on your own in your own revision. Or if you think I might be able to help you, I have experience as serving as a VCE examiner or assessor, I should say myself, and I've assessed over 5,000 exam scripts. And I can show you how to, what responses would typically score full marks for more complicated questions. So thank you very much for watching the video, and all the best with your revision.